The champagne cork popped at the exact moment Katherine Jensen's heart stopped, and it had nothing to do with the bubbly celebration around her, and everything to do with the man standing across the garden, his dark eyes meeting hers for the first time in 8 years. Owen Reeves looked different. Broader shoulders, sharper jawline, an expensive suit that screamed success instead of the ripped jeans and band T-shirts she remembered from their college days. But his eyes, those deep brown eyes that used to watch her sketch in the campus library, those were exactly the same. Katherine forced herself to look away, clutching her glass of champagne like a lifeline. This was Sarah's wedding, her best friend's perfect day, and she refused to let ancient history ruin it. Even if that history stood 6 feet tall and looked like he had walked straight out of a fashion magazine. "Katie, you made it." Sarah appeared in a swirl of white lace, her face glowing with happiness. "I was worried you would be stuck at the museum all day." "I wouldn't miss this for anything," Katherine said, pulling her friend into a careful hug that avoided wrinkling the wedding dress. "You look absolutely stunning." "Thanks to you and your brilliant eye for detail," Sarah said, gesturing to the small hand-painted flowers Katherine had added to the dress's hem. "I still cannot believe you did this for me." "It was nothing," Katherine said, though they both knew she had spent weeks perfecting each tiny brushstroke. "Besides, you have been my best friend since freshman year. I would have painted the entire dress if you asked." Sarah's expression shifted, something nervous crossing her features. "Katie, there is something I need to tell you. I know I should have mentioned it sooner, but I was afraid you might not come if you knew, and I really wanted you here." Katherine's stomach sank. She already knew what Sarah was going to say. "Owen is here," Sarah said quickly. "He and Michael have been business partners for 3 years now. I tried to seat you on opposite sides of the reception, but I wanted to warn you in case you ran into each other during cocktail hour. Which, based on your face, I am guessing has already happened." "I saw him," Katherine admitted. "It is fine, Sarah. Really, it was a long time ago. You sure? Because I know how things ended between you two, and if this is going to make you uncomfortable, I can have Michael distract him or something." Katherine shook her head. "This is your wedding day. I am not going to let a college ex-boyfriend create drama. We are both adults now. I am sure we can handle being in the same venue for a few hours." Sarah squeezed her hand. "You are the best. I promise this will be painless. Just eat, drink, dance, and avoid the bouquet toss because my cousin Linda is getting desperate and she will knock you down to catch it." Katherine laughed, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. "Deal." Sarah was pulled away by the photographer, leaving Katherine alone with her champagne and her thoughts. She wandered through the garden, admiring the string lights woven through the oak trees and the carefully arranged centerpieces. The venue was beautiful, a historic estate on the outskirts of the city with manicured lawns and stone fountains that made everything feel like a fairy tale. "Your work." The voice came from behind her, deep and familiar in a way that sent shivers down her spine. Katherine turned to find Owen standing a respectful distance away, his hands in his pockets, his expression carefully neutral. "The dress," he clarified, nodding toward where Sarah stood posing for photos. "Sarah mentioned you painted those flowers. They are incredible." "Thank you," Katherine said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Congratulations on the business partnership. Sarah says you and Michael work well together." "We do." Owen moved closer, studying her face like he was trying to memorize every detail. "How have you been, Katie? It has been a long time." 8 years, she said. "And I have been good. Great, actually. The museum promoted me to senior conservator last year. I spend most of my time restoring Renaissance paintings and occasionally doing freelance work like Sarah's dress." Pride flickered across his face. You always said you wanted to work with art history. I am glad you made it happen." "What about you?" Katherine asked, though she already knew some of the answer. It was impossible to live in the same city and not hear about Owen Reeves. His company, Reeves Manufacturing, had revolutionized sustainable packaging over the past 5 years, making him one of the youngest CEOs in the industry. "Last I heard, you were changing the world one cardboard box at a time." Owen's laugh was surprised and genuine. "That is one way to put it." "Yeah, the company has grown faster than I expected. We just secured a contract with 3 major retailers to replace all their plastic packaging with our biodegradable alternative. It has been a wild ride." "Sounds like you are doing exactly what you always wanted," Katherine said. "Building things, making a difference, leaving the world better than you found it. I try." His expression turned serious. "Katie, I have thought about reaching out to you so many times over the years. What happened between us, the way things ended, I have always regretted how I handled that." Katherine's chest tightened. She had imagined this conversation countless times, rehearsed what she would say if they ever crossed paths again. But standing here now, with years of distance and growth between them, the old anger felt less sharp than she remembered. "We were kids," she said finally. 20 years old and convinced we had everything figured out. You got that incredible job opportunity in Seattle, and I had a full scholarship for my graduate program here. Neither of us wanted to do long distance, and we both said things we should not have. "I called you selfish," Owen said quietly, "for not being willing to move with me, for choosing art over us. That was unfair and untrue, and I have regretted those words every day since. And I told you that you only cared about making money, that you were selling out your values for a corporate paycheck," Katherine countered. "Which was also unfair, considering you were trying to get into sustainable manufacturing even back then." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of old wounds and older feelings hanging between them. "For what it is worth," Owen said, "I am sorry for all of it. You deserved better." "So did you," Katherine admitted. "I am sorry too." The dinner bell chimed across the garden, signaling guests to find their seats. Owen gestured toward the reception tent. "Truce, at least for today," Katherine smiled. "Truce." They walked together toward the tent, falling into an easy conversation about Sarah and Michael's relationship, the wedding planning chaos, the strange speeches that were inevitably coming. It felt natural, familiar in the way that only old friends could manage, and Katherine found herself relaxing despite her earlier nerves. The reception was a blur of toasts and laughter, excellent food and flowing wine. Katherine sat with Sarah's college friends, people she had not seen in years, and caught up on careers and relationships and the general chaos of adult life. But her eyes kept drifting across the tent to where Owen sat with the groom's party, his laugh carrying over the music as Michael's brother told some embarrassing story from their childhood. "You should just go talk to him," whispered Maya, one of Sarah's sorority sisters. She had been watching Katherine's not-so-subtle glances with knowing amusement. "The man has been staring at you all night. The sexual tension is visible from space." "There is no sexual tension," Katherine protested, even as heat crept up her neck. "We are just being civil for Sarah's sake." "Honey, that is not civil. That is two people who desperately want to rip each other's clothes off but are too polite to do it at a wedding." "Maya, I am just saying, life is short. He is gorgeous, you are gorgeous, and everyone here knows you two were crazy about each other in college. Why not see if there is still something there?" Before Katherine could respond, the DJ announced it was time for open dancing. Couples flooded the floor as a slow song started, swaying together under the fairy lights. Katherine watched Sarah and Michael dance, their foreheads pressed together, completely lost in their own world. The love between them was palpable, the kind of deep connection Katherine had always dreamed about but never quite found. "Dance with me." Owen stood beside her table, his hand extended, his expression hopeful and uncertain in equal measure. Katherine's heart hammered against her ribs. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was a bad idea, that reopening old wounds would only lead to more pain. But her hand was already reaching for his, her body moving before her mind could catch up. The dance floor was crowded, but Owen guided them to a quieter corner, his hand settling on her waist like it belonged there. Katherine rested her hand on his shoulder, feeling the solid muscle beneath the expensive fabric of his suit. They swayed slowly, neither quite meeting the other's eyes. "This is weird, right?" Katherine said finally. "Dancing together after all these years." "A little," Owen admitted. "But also kind of nice. I have missed you, Katie, more than I probably should have." "What does that mean?" He was quiet for a moment, thinking. "It means that over the past 8 years, I have dated other people, built a successful company, traveled the world, achieved most of my professional goals. But there was always this gap, this feeling that something was missing. And standing here with you now, I think I finally understand what that was." Katherine's breath caught. "Owen, I am not saying this to make things complicated," he continued quickly. "I just want to be honest. Seeing you again, talking to you, it reminded me of why I fell for you in the first place. You are brilliant and talented, and you see the world in this beautiful way that I have never found in anyone else. And if I do not say this now, I will regret it for another 8 years." The song ended, but they kept swaying, locked in their own bubble as other couples drifted apart around them. Katherine's mind raced, her emotions tangled between caution and hope, between the memory of their painful breakup and the undeniable pull she felt toward him now. "I moved back to the city 2 years ago," Owen said. "I kept meaning to look you up, but I was afraid you had moved on, that you were happy with someone else, that I had screwed things up too badly to ever fix. But then Michael mentioned Sarah was getting married, and that you were doing the dress, and I realized fate was giving us another chance." "You believe in fate now?" Katherine asked, surprised. Owen had always been pragmatic, a man of science and logic who dismissed anything remotely spiritual. "I believe in second chances," he said. "And I believe that some connections are too strong to ignore. What we had in college, that was real, Katie. We were just too young and stubborn to fight for it, but we are not kids anymore. We are both established in our careers. We both live in the same city, and unless I am completely misreading this situation, we both still feel something." Katherine pulled back slightly, meeting his eyes. They were warm and earnest, full of invulnerability she had rarely seen from him. The Owen she remembered had been confident to the point of arrogance, always certain he had the right answer. This version was softer, more open, shaped by years and experience into someone who understood the value of admitting when he wanted something. "I feel something," she admitted quietly. "I have felt it since the moment I saw you across the garden. But Owen, we hurt each other badly last time. What makes you think it would be different now?" "Because we are different now," he said. "I have spent the past 8 years learning that success means nothing if you do not have people to share it with. My company is doing well, but I work 70-hour weeks and go home to an empty apartment. I have everything I thought I wanted, except the person who made me want to be better in the first place. That is a lot of pressure to put on someone," Katherine said, though her heart was racing. "To be the person who makes your life meaningful." "That came out wrong," Owen said, frustration creeping into his voice. "I am not asking you to complete me or fix my life or any of that codependent nonsense. I am just saying that I have grown up a lot, and part of that growth made me realize what I lost when I let you go. I am asking for a chance to get to know you again, to see if we could build something real this time. No ultimatums, no stupid fights about whose career is more important. Just two people who care about each other trying to make it work. Katherine wanted to say yes. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to take the leap, to trust that this could be different. But she had been burned before, and the scars ran deep. I need time to think about this, she said finally. This is overwhelming, Owen. A few hours ago, I thought you were part of my past. Now you are standing here asking to be part of my future, and I just need to process that. Disappointment flickered across his face, but he nodded. Of course. I sprung this on you at a wedding, which is possibly the worst timing in the world. But Katie, can I at least give you my number? No pressure, no expectations. Just if you decide you want to talk or grab coffee or discuss anything beyond the fact that Sarah's cousin Linda really did try to tackle someone for that bouquet. Katherine laughed despite herself, glancing over to where Linda was indeed arguing with another woman over the crushed flowers. She warned me that might happen. Owen pulled out his phone, and Katherine did the same. They exchanged numbers, their fingers brushing as they handed the devices back. The touch sent electricity through her skin, a reminder that whatever had existed between them was not dead, just dormant. The rest of the reception passed in a haze. Katherine danced with Sarah's father, laughed at the best man's speech about Michael's disastrous first attempt at proposing, and carefully avoided too much more wine. But her awareness never left Owen, tracking him across the room as he mingled with other guests, shared stories with old friends, and occasionally caught her eye with a look that promised complicated feelings and unfinished conversations. When the night finally wound down and guests began trickling toward the parking lot, Katherine found herself alone by the fountain, watching the last of the fairy lights twinkle in the oak trees. The venue was beautiful in the moonlight, peaceful and perfect, like something out of a dream. "You okay?" Sarah appeared beside her, having changed into a simple sundress for the departure. Her hair was slightly mussed, her makeup a little smudged, and she had never looked happier. "I am perfect," Katherine said. "Your wedding was beautiful, Sarah. Everything you dreamed of." "Everything we dreamed of," Sarah corrected, linking her arm through Katherine's. "You helped make this happen in more ways than one. And before you try to deflect, I saw you and Owen dancing. I saw the way he looked at you. So spill what happened," Katherine sighed. "He wants to try again. He basically said he has spent the past 8 years regretting how things ended and wants a second chance. And you said that I need time to think about it." Sarah was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Katie, I love you, and I will support whatever decision you make. But I have to tell you, Owen is not the same guy he was in college. He has worked incredibly hard to build something meaningful with his company. He treats his employees well. He donates ridiculous amounts to environmental causes, and Michael says he is the most loyal friend he has ever had. Whatever happened between you 8 years ago, I truly believe he has grown past that." "But what if we try again and it ends the same way?" Katherine asked. "What if we fall back into old patterns and hurt each other all over again?" "What if you don't?" Sarah countered. "What if this is your second chance at something incredible? Look, I am not saying rush into anything. Take your time, be careful with your heart, but also do not let fear keep you from taking a risk on something real. The worst that happens is it does not work out and you move on. The best that happens is you find what Michael and I have, and trust me, it is worth the risk." Katherine pulled her friend into a tight hug. "When did you get so wise?" "Sometime between the wedding planning nervous breakdown and realizing I was about to marry my soulmate," Sarah said with a laugh. Now go home, get some sleep, and think about what you really want. But Katie, life is too short for regrets. If Owen Reeves makes you feel even a fraction of what I see in your eyes when you look at him, you owe it to yourself to explore that. The drive home was quiet, Catherine's mind spinning with possibilities and fears. Her apartment felt empty when she finally walked through the door, just her and her cat, and the stack of art restoration projects waiting on her dining room table. It was a good life, a life she had built through hard work and dedication. But was it enough? She did not call Owen that night, or the next day. Instead, she threw herself into work, spending long hours at the museum carefully cleaning a 15th-century portrait, mixing pigments for touch-ups, losing herself in the familiar rhythm of brush strokes and steady hands. But even as she worked, her mind wandered to brown eyes and strong hands, and the feeling of swaying under fairy lights. A week after the wedding, Katherine was elbow-deep in paint thinner when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Except it was not unknown, not really, because she had stared at Owen's contact information every day since Sarah's wedding without quite finding the courage to use it. The message was simple. No pressure, but there is an exhibit of Renaissance paintings opening at the City Gallery tonight. Thought you might be interested, and if you happen to be there, I might be there too, around 7, near the Botticelli reproduction. Katherine read the message 3 times, her heart pounding. It was perfect, so perfectly Owen, giving her an out while also making his intentions clear. She could ignore it, pretend she never saw it, and they would drift apart again into separate lives. Or she could take the risk Sarah had talked about, could see if the connection they once shared might become something even stronger. At 6:30, she was standing in front of her closet, debating between professional and approachable, between armor and vulnerability. She settled on a simple navy dress, comfortable but elegant, paired with the silver necklace her grandmother had left her. Natural makeup, hair loose around her shoulders, nothing too much or too calculated. The gallery was moderately crowded when she arrived, art enthusiasts milling around the various paintings with wine glasses and hushed conversations. Katherine found the Botticelli reproduction easily, a beautiful print of the birth of Venus that captured the ethereal quality of the original. And standing in front of it, studying the delicate brushwork with obvious appreciation, was Owen. He had not seen her yet, so Katherine took a moment to observe him. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal gray sweater, more casual than his wedding attire but no less attractive. His hair was slightly disheveled, like he had run his hands through it repeatedly, and there was a tension in his shoulders that suggested he was nervous about whether she would show up. Katherine approached slowly, stopping beside him to study the painting. You know, Botticelli used actual gold powder mixed into the paint for Venus's hair. You cannot see it in reproductions, but in person, the original almost glows. Owen's face lit up when he saw her, relief and joy mingling in his expression. You came. I came, she agreed. Though I have to say, using my love of Renaissance art as bait is a pretty calculated move. I have been told I can be manipulative when I want something badly enough, he said with a small smile. Is it working? Maybe. Katherine turned back to the painting, letting the silence stretch between them. I have been thinking about what you said at the wedding, about second chances and being different people now. And Owen's voice was carefully neutral, but she could hear the hope underneath. And I think you are right. We are different. I am not the same girl who was so focused on her dreams that she could not see compromise. And you are not the same guy who thought success meant conquering the world alone. She turned to face him, meeting his eyes directly. But different does not automatically mean compatible. We would need to take this slow, Owen. Really slow. Get to know each other again, see if this is real or just nostalgia and unfinished business. I can do slow, Owen said immediately. Glacially, painfully, torturously slow if that is what you need. Katie, I will take whatever you are willing to give. Coffee dates, museum visits, phone calls at midnight when you cannot sleep. Just give me a chance to prove that this is real. Catherine's resolve cracked a little more. One date. A real date, not just running into each other at art galleries. Dinner, maybe, or something fun. And we talk, honestly, about what went wrong last time and how we would handle those issues now. Done, Owen said. How about Friday? There is this new Italian place downtown that is supposed to be incredible. Or if you would rather do something more casual, there is a street fair in the park with food trucks and live music. The street fair, Katherine decided. Less pressure, more public, easier to escape if things get weird. Owen laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Fair enough, though I am going to do my best to make sure you do not want to escape. They spent the next hour wandering through the gallery, discussing technique and composition, debating the merits of modern art versus classical, falling into the easy intellectual rapport they had shared in college. Owen had always been one of the few people who could keep up with Catherine's passionate rants about art history, who found her obsession with brush strokes and pigment composition fascinating rather than boring. And she had loved his enthusiasm for sustainable design, his belief that engineering could solve environmental problems, his determination to leave the world better than he found it. When the gallery began closing, they walked out together into the cool evening air. The city sparkled around them, lights reflecting off glass buildings, the distant sound of traffic and laughter creating an urban symphony. "Can I walk you to your car?" Owen asked. "I took the subway," Katherine admitted. "My apartment is only 3 stops away." "Then let me ride with you," he said. "Make sure you get home safe." "Owen, I have been taking the subway alone for years. I think I can handle it." "I know you can, but I would feel better if I could see you home. Besides, it gives us another 20 minutes to talk, and I am not ready to say goodnight yet." Katherine considered refusing on principle, but the truth was she was not ready to say goodnight either. "Okay, but you are not walking me to my door. I have standards about how fast we move here." "Noted," Owen said, trying to hide his smile. "I will leave you at the building entrance like a perfect gentleman." The subway ride was surprisingly pleasant. Their shoulders pressed together due to crowded seats, their conversation flowing from art to business to random observations about their fellow passengers. Owen told her about the challenges of scaling his company, the satisfaction of seeing his packaging alternatives in major stores, the frustration of dealing with investors who prioritized profit over environmental impact. Katherine shared stories about her restoration work, the thrill of uncovering original paint layers under centuries of dirt and varnish, the heartbreak of irreversible damage in pieces she loved. When they reached her building, Katherine hesitated before getting out. Owen waited patiently, not pushing, giving her space to make her own decision. "Friday at 6, she said finally. "Meet at the park entrance." "I will be there," Owen promised. "Katie, thank you for giving me this chance, for being willing to see if we can make this work. It means everything to me." Katherine nodded, not quite trusting her voice. She stepped off the train, turning back just before the doors closed to see Owen watching her through the window, his expression soft and hopeful and utterly vulnerable. The train pulled away, and Katherine stood on the platform for a long moment, her heart racing, her mind spinning with possibilities. Friday arrived faster than Katherine expected, a whirlwind of work deadlines and nervous anticipation. She changed outfits 4 times before settling on jeans and a soft green sweater, comfortable but pretty, perfect for wandering through a street fair. Maya called twice to demand updates and offer unsolicited advice about playing hard to get, which Katherine ignored in favor of actual preparation. Owen was already waiting when she arrived at the park entrance, holding 2 cups of coffee and looking unfairly attractive in a leather jacket and faded jeans. His face broke into a wide smile when he saw her, and he held out one of the cups. "Vanilla latte with a shot of caramel," he said. "Unless your coffee order has changed in 8 years. "It has not," Katherine said, touched that he remembered. "Thank you." They wandered into the fair, surrounded by the smells of fried food and cotton candy, the sounds of local bands playing on scattered stages, the cheerful chaos of families and couples enjoying the perfect autumn evening. Owen bought them ridiculously oversized pretzels from a food truck, and they sat on a bench overlooking the duck pond, watching children feed bread to the eager birds. "Okay, ground rules," Katherine said, licking salt from her fingers. "We are going to have the difficult conversation now, get it out of the way so we can actually enjoy the rest of the evening." "Agreed, agreed," Owen said, his expression turning serious. "You want to start, or should I? I will start." Katherine took a deep breath, organizing her thoughts. "When we broke up, I felt like you were asking me to sacrifice my dreams for yours. You had this incredible job offer in Seattle, and you wanted me to defer my graduate program and come with you, even though we both knew there were no comparable art conservation programs out there. And when I said no, you made me feel selfish and small, like my career was less important than yours." Owen flinched but did not interrupt. "But I have had 8 years to think about it," Katherine continued, "and I realize now that you were not trying to demean my work. You were scared and hurt that I was choosing school over you, and you lashed out. Just like I lashed out by calling you a corporate sellout when I knew how much environmental work meant to you. We were both scared kids who did not know how to communicate or compromise." "You are right," Owen said quietly, "about all of it. I was terrified of losing you, so I tried to make you choose between me and your dreams, which was unfair and stupid and something I would never do now. I have spent years learning that the people you love deserve support, not ultimatums. And Katie, I need you to know that your career is incredible. What you do, preserving art and history for future generations, that matters. It matters just as much as anything I have built." Katherine felt tears prick her eyes. She had needed to hear those words more than she realized. "If we do this," she said, "if we try to build something together, we need to be equals. My work is important, your work is important, and we figure out how to support both without keeping score or making sacrifices that breed resentment." "Absolutely," Owen agreed, "and we communicate. If something bothers me, I say it instead of letting it fester. If you need space or support or just someone to listen, you tell me. We do not let pride or fear keep us from being honest with each other." "Okay," Katherine said, feeling like a weight had lifted from her chest. "Okay, I think we can work with that." Owen reached over and took her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "I promise I will do everything in my power to make this work, Katie. You are too important to lose twice." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, finishing their pretzels and watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Then Owen stood, pulling Katherine to her feet with a mischievous grin. "Come on, I saw a photo booth over by the carousel. We are going to make terrible memories that we can laugh at later." The photo booth was tiny, forcing them to squeeze together on the narrow bench. Owen's arm went around Katherine's shoulders, pulling her close, and she caught the scent of his cologne, something woodsy and warm that made her pulse quicken. They made silly faces for the camera, laughing as the flash went off in rapid succession. When the photos printed, Owen immediately claimed one strip, tucking it carefully into his wallet. Katherine held the other strip, studying their laughing faces, the easy joy captured in the frozen moments. They looked happy. They looked right. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of games and music, and increasingly flirtatious conversation. Owen won her a stuffed elephant at the ring toss. Katherine taught him the proper technique for funnel cake consumption, and they danced badly to a cover band's enthusiastic rendition of 80s hits. By the time the fair began winding down, Katherine's cheeks hurt from smiling, and her hand felt perfectly natural tucked into Owen's. "This was a really good first date," she said as they walked slowly toward the exit, neither quite ready for the evening to end. "Does that mean there will be a second?" Owen asked hopefully. "Definitely a second," Katherine confirmed. "Maybe even a third and fourth if you play your cards right." Owen stopped walking, turning to face her under the glow of the Park Street lamps. His expression was tender and intense, one hand coming up to cup her cheek gently. "Katie, I know we are taking this slow and I respect that, but I need you to know something. This is not a casual thing for me. I am not interested in dating around or seeing where things go. I am all in, completely committed to figuring this out with you. And if that is too much too fast, tell me now and I will dial it back. But I will not pretend I am not serious about you." Katherine's breath caught. It was too much too fast, by any reasonable standard. They had been on one date, barely reconnected after 8 years apart. But looking into Owen's eyes, seeing the absolute certainty there, she realized she felt the same way. Whatever existed between them was not casual or uncertain. It was inevitable, powerful, the kind of connection that demanded everything or nothing. "I am all in too," she whispered, "scared out of my mind but all in." Owen's smile could have lit the entire city. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away, his intentions clear. Katherine closed the remaining distance, pressing her lips to his in a kiss that felt like coming home and discovering something new all at once. He kissed her carefully at first, almost reverently, his hands gentle on her face. But as she responded, her fingers tangling in his hair, the kiss deepened. 8 years of longing and regret and hope pouring into the connection between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Owen rested his forehead against hers. "I've been dreaming about doing that since the moment I saw you at the wedding." "Just the wedding," Katherine teased. "Not, say, for the past 8 years." "Okay, fine, for the past 8 years," he admitted. "Happy." "Getting there," she said, kissing him again because she could, because he was here and real and looking at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. They eventually made it back to Katherine's apartment, Owen walking her all the way to her door this time, stealing kisses in the elevator and the hallway like teenagers. At her door they lingered, neither wanting the night to end. "When can I see you again?" Owen asked, his hands linked with hers, his thumb tracing patterns on her skin. "I have a crazy week at work," Katherine said reluctantly. "There is a major restoration project that just came in, and I will probably be pulling late nights through Thursday. But Friday I am free." "Friday seems too far away," Owen complained. "What if I brought you dinner one night this week? Nothing elaborate, just making sure you eat something other than vending machine snacks while you work." Katherine's heart melted a little more. "That would be really nice, actually. Wednesday is usually my latest night. If you showed up around 8 with takeout, I would probably worship you forever." "Deal," Owen said, grinning. "And Katie, thank you for taking a chance on me, on us. I will not let you down this time." "You better not," she said, trying for stern but landing somewhere around besotted. "Because I am choosing to believe in this, and I do not do vulnerable easily." "I know," he said softly, kissing her forehead. That is what makes this so meaningful. Good night, Katie, dream about me. Arrogant, she accused, but she was smiling. Confident, he corrected. There is a difference. The next week passed in a haze of text messages and late-night phone calls, stolen moments between Katherine's grueling work schedule and Owen's business meetings. True to his word, he showed up Wednesday night with Thai food and encouragement, sitting quietly in the museum's restoration lab while Katherine worked, occasionally asking questions about her process, or simply keeping her company in comfortable silence. Friday's second date was dinner at the Italian restaurant Owen had originally suggested, an intimate place with candlelight and incredible pasta, where they talked for hours about everything and nothing. The third date was a Sunday hike through the mountains outside the city, where Owen packed a picnic and Katherine pointed out scenic views that would make perfect paintings. The fourth date was cooking dinner together at Owen's loft apartment, a sleek modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, where they made a mess of his kitchen attempting homemade pasta and laughed until their stomachs hurt. By their sixth date, 3 weeks after reconnecting at Sarah's wedding, they had fallen into an easy rhythm. Katherine spent most evenings at Owen's place or vice versa, working on their separate projects in comfortable companionship, stealing kisses during coffee breaks, sharing meals and stories, and gradually rebuilding the foundation they had lost. "I need to tell you something," Owen said one evening as they curled up on his couch, Katherine's head resting on his chest while they watched the city lights twinkle outside. "About my company and what I have been building." Katherine tilted her head up to look at him. "Okay, tell me." "Reeves Manufacturing is worth about $400 million, he said quietly. "The sustainable packaging market exploded faster than anyone predicted, and we were positioned perfectly to capitalize on it. I am not just successful, Katie. I am wealthy. Really wealthy." Katherine processed this information, understanding why he seemed nervous about sharing it. "That bothers you. Being rich. It bothers me that some people see the money before they see me," Owen admitted. "I've had relationships where women were more interested in the lifestyle I could provide than actually getting to know me, and I worry that telling you this will change how you see me." "Owen, I am a museum conservator. I make a comfortable living, but I will never be wealthy." "Does that bother you?" "Of course not," he said immediately. "Your career is about passion and preservation, not profit. That is one of the things I admire about you." "Then why would you think your success would bother me?" Katherine asked gently. "I am proud of what you have built. You took your values and turned them into a business that actually makes a difference. The fact that you made money doing it just proves people value what you created. That is incredible, Owen." He pulled her closer, relief evident in his expression. "You mean that?" "I mean that. Though I am keeping my apartment and paying for my own stuff," she added firmly. "I am with you because of who you are, not what you have, and I need to maintain my independence financially and otherwise." "I would never ask you to be dependent on me," Owen said. "But Katie, if we keep going down this path, if this becomes as serious as I think it will, I want you to know what you are getting into. The money means business travel, charity events, people constantly wanting something. It also means I can take time off whenever I want, support causes I care about, and potentially spoil my girlfriend outrageously even if she is stubborn about it." "Girlfriend," Katherine repeated, her heart skipping. They had not officially defined what they were yet, dancing around labels while clearly exclusive. "If you want to be," Owen said, suddenly uncertain. "I know it has only been a few weeks, but Katie, I am not interested in casual dating. I want you to be my girlfriend officially, publicly. I want people to know you are mine and I am yours." Katherine pretended to consider it, biting her lip to hide her smile. "I suppose I could be convinced. What are the benefits of this position?" Owen flipped them suddenly, pinning her gently against the couch cushions, his eyes dark with promise. "Unlimited access to terrible dad jokes, priority seating at all company events, and all the kissing you can handle." "All the kissing I can handle." Katherine wrapped her arms around his neck, pulling him closer. "That is a pretty bold offer." "I am a pretty bold guy," Owen said, closing the distance between them. He kissed her thoroughly, his hands sliding into her hair, his body warm and solid against hers. Katherine lost herself in the sensation, in the feeling of being wanted and cherished and completely safe. When they broke apart, both flushed and breathing hard, Owen pressed gentle kisses along her jaw, her cheek, the corner of her mouth. "Say yes," he murmured between kisses. "Be my girlfriend, Katie. Let me try to make you as happy as you make me." "Yes," Katherine breathed. "Yes, I am your girlfriend, officially and publicly and every other way that matters." Owen's answering smile was brilliant and boyish, joy transforming his normally serious features into something incandescent. He kissed her again, slower this time, reverent, pouring every ounce of feeling into the connection between them. And Katherine kissed him back with equal intensity, letting herself believe in second chances and fated reunions and love stories that survived years apart to become something even stronger. The weeks turned into months, autumn giving way to winter's first snow. Katherine met Owen's parents over Thanksgiving, a nerve-wracking dinner that turned surprisingly pleasant when his mother immediately loved Katherine's analysis of the artwork in their home. Owen attended the museum's annual gala as Katherine's date, charming her colleagues and making a substantial donation to their conservation fund that had her boss practically swooning. They navigated conflicts with communication and compromise, learning each other's rhythms and boundaries. When Owen's business required a week-long trip to Europe, Katherine encouraged him to go while missing him terribly, and he video called her every evening to share his day. When Katherine became consumed with a particularly challenging restoration project, Owen brought her meals and encouragement without complaint, understanding that her work required the same dedication he poured into his company. On Christmas Eve, 6 months after reconnecting at Sarah's wedding, Owen took Katherine to the same garden venue where they had first danced. He had rented it for the evening, filling it with the same fairy lights and string arrangements, recreating the magic of that night. "What is this?" Katherine asked, enchanted by the twinkling lights and decorated trees. "Our place," Owen said simply. "Where everything started again, where I realized I had been given a second chance with the woman I never stopped loving." Katherine's eyes filled with tears. "Owen, wait. Let me finish," he said, taking both her hands in his. "Katie, these past 6 months have been the happiest of my life. You challenge me, support me, make me want to be better every single day. You see past the money and the success to the person underneath, and you love that person despite all his flaws and ridiculous jokes." "Your jokes are terrible," Katherine agreed, laughing through her tears. "The absolute worst," Owen confirmed. "But you laugh anyway, and that is one of the 1,000 reasons I love you. Katie Jensen, I know we said we would take this slow, and 6 months is still relatively fast, but I need you to know my intentions. I am not dating you casually. I am building a future with you. And when the time is right, when we are both ready, I am going to ask you to marry me. I am going to spend the rest of my life making you happy and supporting your dreams and being worthy of the incredible gift of your love." Katherine could barely breathe through the emotions overwhelming her. "That sounds like a proposal without actually being a proposal." "It is a promise," Owen said seriously. A declaration of intent. I am not asking you to marry me tonight because I want to do this right, to give us time to be completely sure. But I needed you to know that this is forever for me. You are forever for me. You are forever for me too, Katherine whispered, cupping his face in her hands. Owen Reeves, I love you. I loved you 8 years ago, and I love you now, and I will love you for whatever forever we build together. They kissed under the fairy lights, the same lights that had witnessed their reunion, swaying together to music only they could hear. And Katherine knew with absolute certainty that this was exactly where she was meant to be. A year and a half after Sarah's wedding, Owen proposed officially on the anniversary of their first date at the street fair. He had arranged for the same photo booth to be set up in the park, and after they took new pictures laughing and kissing, he got down on one knee outside the tiny booth and asked Katherine to be his wife. The ring was perfect, a vintage piece he had found at an estate sale and had restored, honoring her love of history and preservation. She said yes before he finished asking. They married the following spring in the same garden venue where they had reconnected, surrounded by friends and family, and the fairy lights that had become their symbol. Sarah stood as Katherine's maid of honor, crying happy tears and whispering that she knew the wedding seating chart would work magic. Michael was Owen's best man, joking in his speech about finally getting his business partner to care about something other than quarterly reports. Katherine wore a dress she had designed herself, with hand-painted flowers along the hem in a pattern that mirrored Sarah's wedding gown. Owen wore a custom suit, with a pocket square that matched Katherine's dress exactly. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promises about supporting dreams and maintaining independence, and choosing each other every single day for the rest of their lives. Their honeymoon was a month-long tour of European art museums and historical sites, Owen patiently listening to Katherine's enthusiastic explanations of Renaissance techniques, while she gamely toured sustainable manufacturing facilities that had adopted his packaging designs. They laughed constantly, explored fearlessly, and fell more deeply in love with every shared experience. 2 years into their marriage, Katherine discovered she was pregnant. Owen cried when she told him, holding her close and whispering promises to their unborn child about art museums and hiking trips, and all the love they could possibly give. Their daughter was born on a snowy December evening, a perfect tiny human with Owen's dark eyes and Katherine's stubborn determination. They named her Sarah Grace, after the friend who had brought them back together and the second chance they had been given. Baby Sarah loved art from the beginning, her nursery filled with prints of famous paintings and her father's terrible singing voice during late-night feedings. Katherine reduced her hours at the museum to balance motherhood with her career, while Owen restructured his company to allow more time working from home. 5 years after their wedding, sitting in the garden venue for Sarah and Michael's anniversary party, Katherine watched Owen chase their daughter through the fairy lights while their son, born 2 years after Sarah, napped peacefully in her arms. Her life looked nothing like she had imagined at 20 years old, but it was more beautiful than any dream. "You two give me hope," said a voice beside her. Maya from college sat down, watching Katherine's family with affectionate amusement. "The fact that you managed to screw it up once and still get your happy ending is basically a fairy tale." "We got lucky," Katherine admitted. "If Sarah had not gotten married, if Owen had not been Michael's business partner, we might have spent the rest of our lives wondering what if." "That was not luck," Maya said firmly. "That was fate, destiny, whatever you want to call it. Some people are meant to find each other, no matter how long it takes. You and Owen are proof of that." Katherine smiled, watching her husband spin their giggling daughter in circles, his face alight with pure joy. He caught her eye across the garden and blew her a kiss, the same gesture he made every day, casual and precious in its consistency. "Yeah," Katherine said softly, contentment settling deep in her bones. "I guess we are." That evening, after the party ended and the children were tucked into bed, Katherine and Owen stood in their own backyard, recreating their first dance under stars instead of fairy lights. They swayed slowly, no music necessary, their bodies knowing the rhythm by heart. "Happy?" Owen asked, the question he posed every day, needing to know he was fulfilling his promise. "Deliriously," Katherine answered, the same response she gave every time because it was true. "You?" "More than I ever imagined possible," Owen said, kissing the top of her head. "Thank you for saying yes at that wedding, for taking a chance on us, for building this incredible life with me." "Thank you for never giving up," Katherine countered. "For believing we could be better the second time around." They danced until the stars grew bright overhead, two people who had found each other, lost each other, and found their way back home. And in the house behind them, in rooms filled with art and laughter and love, their children slept peacefully, unaware they were the product of a second chance that had reunited not just their parents' present, but their entire future. It was not the ending Katherine had expected when she saw Owen across that garden 8 years after their breakup. It was better, richer, more complicated and more beautiful than any plan she could have designed. Because sometimes the best love stories are not the ones that go smoothly from beginning to end, but the ones that survive obstacles and time and fear to become something worth holding onto forever. And as Owen pulled her close, whispering how much he loved her in the darkness of their backyard, Katherine knew that their story, messy and imperfect and absolutely real, was the greatest masterpiece she had ever helped create.